Well, I tell you what, as far as a week goes in terms of news about China, it has been a huge week. Over recent years, China has shown its true colours as a belligerent bully. We've seen it firsthand in Australia as China slapped trade sanctions on us when we called for an inquiry into the origins of COVID-19. And more recently, when they attempted to sign security pacts with at least 10 countries in the Pacific, which of course is our backyard. But China's influence extends far deeper and far broader than what you might imagine. For the first time ever, the heads of the FBI and MI5 conducted a joint press conference this week to outline the serious threat China poses. Both officials took special care to note China's continued role in economic espionage through hacking and human spies, as well as their efforts to undermine countries like the UK, US and Australia by infiltrating our political systems at all levels of government. This is not from some anti-China human rights group. We are talking about the FBI and MI5. Joining me now is Liberal Party Defence Policy Branch Chairman and National Security and Cyber Expert Lincoln Parker, who's working closely in this space. Good to see you again, Lincoln. This was the first time we've had the FBI and MI5 of all intelligence agencies join forces publicly to warn the world about the threat China poses. Is it as significant as I'm painting?
Well, Chris, for the head of Britain's top spy agency, MI5, and the director, Christopher Wray, of the Federal Bureau of Investigation to come together in London to jointly put out a statement warning of the perils of Chinese espionage and influence operations, which is also known as information warfare, is incredible. And indeed, we saw evidence of this occur just 2 weeks ago with Chinese information warfare attacking an Australian publicly listed mining company called Lynas, which is partly funded by the US government to produce rare earths, which China has complete control over globally.
Yes.
Set up operations in Texas, and so the Chinese influence and information warfare operations went into full swing in the United States to try and get this stopped. Fortunately, it didn't work and we stopped it.
Wow, what a brazen attempt that was to bring that organisation down. Most Australians are beginning to understand how aggressive China has become. Intelligence reports also tell us that China could be moving to invade Taiwan sooner than we thought, right? This is some of the information we're getting back this week.
Well, that's exactly right. So Director Wray said, and I quote, "China is taking steps to shield its economy from sanctions." So what he's saying is that the intelligence that the United States and Britain have found, particularly the learnings that China has taken from the Russian invasion of Ukraine, is that they know that when they're going to attack Taiwan and take it brutally by force, that the world will come together and put sanctions on them. So they are stockpiling as much as they possibly can, and we really need to be wary of this because, look, at the end of the day, we all want to be peaceful, but we can't look the other way when China continues to bully and be aggressive.
We cannot be ignorant. The FBI head also noted that Beijing is looking to manipulate leaders at all levels of government. Is that the same in Australia? Are you convinced of that?
Well, that's exactly what they said, and they were warning about that across the West, and we've seen this already because, so what China has realised is that federal governments around the world, and federal governments have departments of foreign affairs and access to intelligence from their national security apparatuses, so they understand what's going on, whereas state governments and local governments do not. And so federal governments around the world, including Australia and the Five Eyes and others, realise just what a threat China is. And so China's going around them and trying to do deals with state and local governments. And we saw this with the Andrews government in Victoria that signed an international treaty or a memorandum of understanding for a Belt and Road initiative, which is just ridiculous. And so, yes, we're absolutely seeing that. And we need to be careful in states like Western Australia, South Australia, Victoria, etc.
On our submarine deal through AUKUS, you've just come back from Washington. Can we expedite our purchase of a submarine or two? And what should the Defence Minister, Richard Marles, do about that?
Well, it was reported in The Australian, Chris, that from an insider in the US national security establishment that said that it would be possible for the United States to provide Australia with 2 nuclear-powered submarines by 2030. Now, that hasn't been rebuffed by the United States government or the United States Navy. No one has come out and said, oh, hang on, no, that's not correct. So if we are capable or able to accept that offer, which is a fantastic offer to come from the United States, then Richard Marles should be out there talking to the Americans. I believe he's going on a trip soon, but accept that offer and get those submarines down to Australia. And I would note also that bolsters this argument that there is a bipartisan bill in the United States Congress right now that allows for Australian naval sailors to train on US nuclear-powered submarines.
So we need to move on that quickly.
We should be doing it right away.
Right away, and start moving on where we put our facilities and upgrading those facilities in expectation.
Oh, we've got to have a new submarine base on the East Coast. I know we've been talking about that for a long time, many years. It's been in the works. We've just got to get on with the job.
What about the rest of the ADF? What about missiles? What about other areas? It's not just submarines, surely.
Well, it isn't, Chris, and that's exactly right. And I think the Australian public really need to be aware of the fact that our Australian Defence Force, whilst punching above its weight, is really small. We cannot defend ourselves against a major attack, and we will always need to fight with the Americans. And so, yes, we need to we've only got about 100 strike jets, for instance. That's nothing. Our Navy's still got the old Anzac frigates that are still sailing. Our army, it's very small. So we need long-range missiles. We need to put a lot of investment in the Navy, and we need long-range bombers. So we used to have the F-111, which was known as the pig. We haven't had it for over 10, 15 years. So we need to invest now, and we need to take our defence spending from 2% up to 4 to 5% to include those submarines as well.
A lot to do. Lincoln Parker, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Chris.